Blue, Purple, and Pink, Star, Baby Doll, and Beauty made up the girl group trio called the OMG Girlz. When there were hardly any black girl groups in the late 2000s and early 2010s, the OMG Girlz filled that void. With controversial, colorful hair, crazy outfits, and a pop R&B sound with catchy, girly tunes, they served as an inspiration for many young girls in their target demographic. So from the original group,
"Hey, we're the OMG Girls,"
to shedding their teeny bopper image, with famous connections, a disbandment, and a lawsuit that would bring them all together years later.
I'm sorry, it was just racist to me. Y'all gonna rip us off because we the little small black artists that y'all don't know.
They had their moment in time, but they may have realized that they were better together than they were apart. And now, 10 years later, they're making a comeback as the OMG Girlz, grown and mature. But many question how this will translate into the 2020s, and is it all too juvenile or out of trend? So what happened to the OMG Girlz, and will they have that resurgence that they are hoping for? Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be discussing what happened to the OMG Girlz. This one has been highly requested, a quartet that formed later into a trio, having connections with Atlanta music royalty. Many little girls arguing at the lunch table who was which, were you Beauty, Star, or Baby Doll? So today we are going to go through the OMG Girlz' inception, their career, the disbandment, scandal, where they are now, and discuss their comeback, because there is more to the story than just what was written previously. Comment down below, what do you guys think of the OMG Girlz? Hit that subscribe button, guys. We have been on this journey to 100K, and to be honest with you, when this post, I'm not sure if I'll be at 100K or not. I've been grinding for this, and I've wanted this for so long, and we're building this community. So just know, like, this marker means so much to me. But this is not a means to taking my foot off the gas. Without further ado though, let's get right into the video. Y'all can see I got the pink on. The pink, I wanted to do a bit more of a colorful look because the OMG Girlz. Let's get into it. So the very beginning, or chapter 1. It all began in Atlanta, Georgia with 4 little girls: Zanique, Beja, Lourdes, and Reginae. Important context exists here because they all have some sort of industry connection, with some of them born directly into the industry. So Zanique Pullins was born March 20th, 1996, and her mom is Tamika "Tiny" Harris, best known for her time in the 90s R&B girl group Escape. And her stepfather is none other than the rapper T.I. He and her mother Tiny began dating when she was younger, right? So not quite tying the knot until around 2010. He has served as Zanique's father figure. Beja Rodriguez, born August 2nd, 1996, and Lourdes Rodriguez, born September 16th, 1998, are half-sisters. Their mother is close friends with Tiny, but Beja's father is actually Jonathan Rasborough and was a member of the 90s R&B boy group Silk.
My biological father is not in my life. I was raised by my sister's father. My dad is known. He's in the industry as well. And it's like, you know, you have a parent. He was in Silk. And it's kind of like weird because I would be at sessions and would be like, oh, like, I know your dad, and da-da-da, woo-de-woo. I'm like, I don't know that like that.
But Zanique and Beja have actually known each other since they were in diapers. And as for original members, lastly, we have Reginae Carter, born November 29th, 1998. And she actually was born in Louisiana, but later moved to Georgia, whom some of you guys may be a bit more familiar with because her father is Lil Wayne. Yes, Wayne Carter. Lil Wayne. And one thing about Reginae is she loves her daddy down. Her mother, Toya Johnson, became friends with Tiny, who was Zanique's mom, via industry connection, right? Like hip-hop wives, you know, you see this person here, this person there. And this actually prompted them to land their own reality TV show in 2009 called Tiny and Toya.
to our lives on Tiny and Toya.
Children of these R&B and hip-hop stars culminated into their very own young community. But actually, before we get into that, let's hear a word from our sponsors. When was the last time you had a checkup? One of the biggest things about adulting and being in my early 20s was finding a primary care doctor, to get blood work done, and to have a doctor who I can ask about any of my concerns. No more is your mom calling to make the appointments, it's up to you. And my first question was always, how do I find a doctor? And how do I find a doctor that I like? Well, my sponsor ZocDoc is a one-stop platform to search for providers and instantly book appointments. ZocDoc is a free website where you are able to search for and compare high-quality in-network doctors. We're talking over 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental to OBGYN to eye care and many more. You go on the ZocDoc website, search through physicians, and boom, click to instantly book an appointment. And it's also organized. You can filter through doctors who take your insurance, doctors in your area, and doctors that fit your medical needs. I remember when I had a nasty ear infection. Yes, at my big age, I hardly knew what to do. And after some time of no relief, I booked an appointment with an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and they listened to all of my concerns, addressed every symptom, and was thorough in their examination. That's why it's so important to find a doctor you can trust and will listen, and ZocDoc makes that process so much easier. On the website, you can see reviews from patients who book through ZocDoc, ratings on the wait time, and frequently asked questions about the physician. ZocDoc empowers me to determine which provider best fits my needs. They lay out so many options, and I can more confidently find a doctor that's best for me. You can see their actual appointment bookings and schedule a time that works for you. Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within 24 to 72 hours of booking. And you can even score same-day appointments. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/Cameron, also linked in the description, to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. Thanks again to ZocDoc for being a sponsor, and let's get back into the video. Essentially, they were the girls who would hang out and have play dates while their moms were kikiing downstairs. So one day, Tiny had the idea to put a group together, because not only did she have experience in a girl group in Escape, but also she's a songwriter who is known for her writing contributions on TLC's song No Scrubs. She actually snagged a Grammy Award for the record.
No Scrubs came about because it was a demo for Tiny and I.
You wrote that, you wrote that song, right?
Yeah.
But you ended up giving it to
TLC.
Now, years prior, Tiny attempted to put together a group called the Cutie Posse with her daughter Zanique being one half of the duo. But that quickly disbanded. It was just like a cute little side project. So in 2009, Tiny took another stab at creating that girl group, and this group being called the OMG Girlz.
The group started, and I want to say 2008, 2009. It was just supposed to be an episode of Tiny and Toy. When it aired, everybody was just like, oh my God, who are these girls? We want to see them. So we ended up making it like a real group.
And OMG in this scenario does not stand for oh my gosh, so ditch that. For them, it stands for officially misguided, as in Miss, M-I-S-S, young ladies who are guided in a positive way. It kind of reminds me though of like the mindless behavior spin. Like, I understand the creating a positive connotation, but when it's said in succession, cut and dry, it sounds negative. So I'm not the biggest fan of group names that like kind of aim to flip a meaning. Like, just, yeah, but anyways. Each girl in the group was given nicknames and monikers to rock with the group. So Zanique would become Star, Beja being Beauty, Lourdes being Lolo, and Reginae, of course, being Baby Carter. And they ranged from the age of around 10 to 13 at their debut. So let's talk about the debut. Let's talk about it. So their very first single, Ain't Nobody, released in November 2009. I actually forgot this song existed. But the song melodically was not that bad, especially if the mixing was better. Don't jump me. But the way that this song sounds, the melody, I could see a young Sierra, like early Sierra, doing a song like this. I'm just saying. And Reginae's rap part will forever be a moment to me. And at this point, guys, they were doing small little gigs and even some mini TV commercials.
Jazz, Teekaboo, and other surprise guests will be in the building.
Unfortunately, Reginae left the group in 2010, shortly after its conception. And some people initially suspected that she was kicked out from the group, but it was later reported somewhere that Reginae's mom, Toya, had concerns about her being so young and in a group. And I even remember some people speculating if there was like beef between T.I. and Wayne, and that was the reason why, which I don't believe that was ever the issue. Now, as a trio, finally, they would go on to release a second single called Haters, a song that actually featured the New Boys. And they performed the single on TV stations, utilizing connections. This news performance. But from the name to the song titles, their whole group's concept was a play on internet culture. Trendy clothing, use of short, trendy acronyms, tech speak, if you will, very catered to a young girl audience. So in July 2010, they released a song called Pretty Girl Bag, which was a sample and spin-off, really, of Soulja Boy's hit single, Pretty Boy Swag, and I'm screaming at the cover. I mean, the bag spinning in the chair is sending me. It's sending me. But also, why did Lolo slide on this?
I got beauty, but I'm Lolo. Get to know me.
Like, she was really in a pocket. And also what's interesting is this song says that it was featuring Lolo. So at this time, it was as if it was to signal a separation of sorts. It also featured another little girl named Ariel. So they were clearly in limbo of the OMG Girlz. Is it a duo? Is it a trio? Who knows? And lo and behold, Lolo would be the second member to leave the group. And there's no harsh feelings there. They said it was attributed to her age, as she was just a little too young.
I would say it was like a big age group at a time. I mean, a big age difference. At the time, like me and Beige always were same age, basically. And Lourdes and Nate are like around the same age. So when it came to like dance moves.
Yeah, we like 14, 15, talking about like boys and stuff like that. And you know, my sister and Reginae were like 11 and 12.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like kind of...
So Lolo had to go. So let's get into the rebrand and breakthrough. So while looking for ways to rebrand and hopefully break the mainstream, they revamped their music and style at this time. So while in search for that third spot, they released a fourth single called So Official that only featured the two girls, Beauty and Star. And they also did at this time have a big contest looking for another member, but it wasn't panning out as they had hoped. So this actually prompted them to recruit Brianna Womack, or Bree, born March 23rd, 1995 in Mobile, Alabama, who they would later nickname Baby Doll. Now, her uncle actually worked for the Harris family.
My uncle is actually the bodyguard of the OMG Girlz in the family. He showed them my video on YouTube by not saying, right, that I was his niece. Like, he just showed it to him because they were looking for a new member. So he had showed it to him, thankfully, and then he, like, once he seen that he liked it, I guess if they didn't like it, he wasn't gonna claim me. But once he seen he liked it, he was like, oh, that's my niece, I get her up here.
They added her to the group. And she also fills this role as the rapper of the group, which they were looking for. And this is when they really went to work, even hiring ATL choreographer Sean Bankhead. And this name may sound familiar because he's now an A-list choreographer, working with the likes of Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B, Tate McRae, Normani, Victoria Monet, and Lil Nas X. That's just the beginning of the resume. So with upping the ante on choreography, they also revamped the group's image. And the OMG Girlz adopted several signatures. The first one being colorful hair. Star sported blue hair, Beauty sported pink hair, and Baby Doll sported purple. And they leaned into it heavily, which is a key component to being a standout group or musician. What is your signature piece? And highlighted hair initially it was just highlights, but they took it up a notch when they just decided to dye the whole damn thing. But there was slight pushback with their hair color expression by spectators and parents. Now, there weren't many black girls with colorful hair in the limelight at this time. I think of Rihanna and Nicki Minaj giving like the fun hair colors at this time. But whether there was a pushback rooted in traditionalism, parents viewing it as a form of rebellion, and then also to take it a step further. We're gonna get a little deep here for a second. But as black women, our hair has been highly stigmatized, right? And also with this highlighted fear of hair damage.
Like, I remember on the internet, everyone's like, oh my God, they're so ghetto.
Yeah, I was going
their
there.
parents letting them do this? Their hair's gonna fall out.
And assimilation may have also had a role in keeping our hair a certain way, style, or color. As little black girls, they did get more pushback for that because you didn't see a lot of black girls with their hair completely dyed different colors, let alone highlights. I mean, you go to the hair salon, you wanted to even straighten your hair, they were bumping the ends. When I was growing up, I was still going to an old school hairstylist. Love you, Mr. John. Love you down. But like flat irons, hair color, please. You're getting your ends bumped. And that's it. So to see these little girls out here, young teenagers, black girls with colorful hair, guys, it might not seem like a big deal, but it kind of was. Like when you asked your parents if you could dye your hair, because I know most of you have, you were told no. You were probably told no. And I'm not shaming parents for that, because I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. So there was also this thing of like, black girls shouldn't dye their hair this color, right? They shouldn't wear this color lipstick. It doesn't look good with their skin tone. There were all of these rules, not just from outsiders, but people inside the club. That was a bit of a barrier that they had to go over or hurdle through. For them, it was a statement to just simply be girls and carefree, to have fun with color, to wear trendy clothing, and to reject the cookie cutter, which I think was a smart move and a bold message. So to me, it was always done tastefully, and I never thought they were older than they were. If I'm being honest, I never got that impression. And Beja spoke on this years later, with some people saying she was reaching, but in my opinion, she really wasn't.
I think when we came out at that time, it wasn't really a lot of like black girls who were wearing like bright colored hair, wearing what they wanted to wear because we're trying to fit into like these social norms. Who police just black girls, black women, period, as a whole. It's like, you have to look like this, and you have to act like this, and you have to dress like this. And I think, like Nick said, we was just kind of like, whatever, we gonna do us. Like, either we gonna hate it or you gonna love it. When we first dyed our hair, all them colors, like, you know, they call us ghetto, ratchet, all this stuff. You get on Instagram, guess what you see? A bunch of colored hair, long hair, 30-inch weaves. We had 30-inch weaves at 16, 17 years old.
So this rebranding and redefining signaled a breakthrough in their group career. It was just the beginning. And Tiny had these girls in a boot camp, okay? And she low-key seemed a little crazy, to say the least.
The female Joe Jackson back in the day, like, she had us running up and down hills. She told us, she came on tour show, told us if the bellies was hanging over the shirt, we can't wear crop tops.
But in 2011, they would release their first single as a trio called Gucci This, Gucci That. And this single would be featured on the 2011 Scream Tour, which the girls were actually selected to be a part of. And what's the Scream Tour, you may ask? Because we've mentioned this a couple times. But it was a tour sponsored by BET that began as early as 2001, often uplifting black entertainment and performers, catering to heartthrobs. Young girls would line up with tickets in their hand to see their crush hit the stage. And it had even served as a springboard for promoting young talent like Chris Brown, Neo, Mario, Bow Wow, and B2K. But for some years, the Scream Tour laid kind of dormant, right? BET was waiting to usher in new, hungry talent. So the OMG Girlz name became affiliated with other young, popular black groups and artists, such as Mindless Behavior, Diggy Simmons, Jacob Lattimore, and Jawan Harris. Now the OMG Girlz, along with these other artists, would feature on the 2011 Scream Tour Next Generation. The main artist promoted for this concert was Mindless Behavior. They were really blowing up at this time, Diggy Simmons, and the New Boys. And don't get me wrong, the OMG Girlz did have their fans. They were slowly gaining them. But it's really hard to compete with young boy groups if we are going to keep it 100% honest. Because we know that little girls will push their careers mainly based on their attraction to them, not always talent. So male groups have always seen a certain level of success because of that crazed teenage fan. Now the tour concluded in December 2011, and this is when they were signed to Interscope/Streamline Records. Now following their label signing, they re-released Gucci This, Gucci That as their first official single underneath the label, and that released on February 28th, 2012. Now the song would peak at number 59 on the R&B hip hop airplay chart and placed on the hot R&B hip hop chart. Honestly guys, this might be one of my favorite songs that they put out. It's super cute, very catchy. It's assertive, confident with punchy, recitable lyrics. Like, you can't hear this song and not move. And the video was also featured on 106 & Park's top 10 list. And fun fact, Lady Gaga actually shouted the group out on Twitter saying, quote, "Obsessed with these little cuties."
She was really excited. She said she wants to do some stuff with us, so
I'm going to say this right now. I know that they were a niche group, but they were catching some sort of attention. And you would see who Lady Gaga would go on to be at this point. But this is where they really began to garner some more sustainable attention and build a fan base and start creating their own lore. Keep in mind, T.I. and Tiny Family Hustle began at the beginning of 2011, so the girls would make appearances on the show as well as Zanique, of course, and that gave them some more publicity. Their second single, called Where the Boys At, was released on July 12, 2012, where it landed a spot at number 7 on Billboard Hot R&B and Hip Hop Songs chart. Its catchy lyrics and descriptors are aligned with what many girls their age were into at that time. Boys. A fun music video that took place at a water park was a cute way to tie the concept all together. And they also utilized a T.I. cameo, with him as the protective dad spying on his daughter role. We all know he has an affinity for that. And that last acting scene, like, there's so much to unpack. He's a daddy now. But anyways, now the OMG Girlz went on tour again in 2012, while they finally were headliners with Diggy Simmons and Jawan Harris. They were really holding it down for the girls, as there weren't many breaking through the black teen pop market at this time. This tour, they previewed an unreleased song called Lover Boy, that they didn't mean to preview, but it leaked. And this would become their most anticipated single. And this single has worked its way into OMG Girl lore for years. And would they ever release it? Stay tuned to find out. In the fall of 2013, they went on to release 2 singles, Can't Stop Loving You and their other single, Baddie, was released as well. And this was another one I forgot about. This was a shift in their image. It marks like another rebrand. They ditched the tutus, and the song had a darker, more mature tone. Club banger type track. But this single also came at the right time because the term baddie was becoming popularized around this period. Another point for the OMG Girls for staying ahead of or on trend. They were very good at that. And as you can see thus far, they didn't really build a stacked discography. Just a bunch of singles to help curb momentum at this point. In my opinion, I think that they should have put out a mixtape or album by this time. So in the summer of 2013, they actually opened for Mindless Behavior on their All Around the World tour. And someone had the bright idea that 2 days before going on that tour, that they should release 3 new singles, Riding Slow, Incredimazable, what a song title, and Do You Remember. Now, Do You Remember was a sample of September by Earth, Wind and Fire with a trap kick, and kick is an understatement. There was honestly just so much going on with this production. Like, listening back, it was just so convoluted. It was just too much going on. It just seemed like their management had one foot in commitment and the other like, our connections are pushing this group, so ride the wave. And the other half was like, we'll just kind of see where it goes. We know enough people to get us here, here, and here. But like, let's just ride the wave and see where it takes us. Which I think is probably why I personally had a disconnect with the group after a while, and I didn't consistently support because it felt so sporadic. A song here, a song there. What's next, right? Like, what's next? And let's talk about the group's split. They were in their rebrand phase 2 with a bunch of singles, good connections, a curated vibe that was very recognizable at this point. Now, in the spring of 2014, they released what they call their first mature single called Boy It's Over, and the song sampled Girl It's Over by Jagged Edge. A slower groove with a more traditional styled R&B track. And this single followed a movement that they created called #TheTransformation. This was to embody their new sound and more mature look. They were now 18, 19 years old, entering phase 3 of the rebrand. They were already starting to market this, and they even announced a Boy It's Over contest in September 2014. Again, let's keep this in mind. They still have not released a mixtape or an album. And in 2012, there's actually a clip of Beja saying the album was supposed to release October 2nd of that year.
The album release date was October 2nd, but it got pushed back. So we just pushed it back, give us a little more time to work on it and just perfect it so that when it comes out.
Clearly now we're 2 years later, there's nothing. We're in 2014 right now. So let's fast forward a year later On March 2nd, 2015, one day fans were casually scrolling down their Instagram feeds and saw a post announcing their disbandment. Zonique took to Twitter saying, "Hey Team OMG, we want to thank you all for your love, support, and loyalty. At this time, we've decided to not move forward as a group, but to move forward individually with our own projects." But it still didn't give a full, fleshed out reason for people at this time for it to be so abrupt, especially because they were just starting their transformation, their rebrand as adults. This felt abrupt and unfinished to the fans. And years later, they did do several sit-down interviews outlining still kind of vague details as to why they split, but nevertheless letting people inside.
2,000 years later.
I just feel like we just wanted to do like different shit.
Like at the time, all of us were ready to explore who we were. And when you're in a group and you're growing with two other people, it's really hard and that's for all of us. It's really hard for you to find your individuality. We kind of came to a point where we were like, you know what? Let's experience life.
And I somewhat figured this because they would post on YouTube with one another throughout the years and post even after the split. So it's good to know that it wasn't beef. But unfortunately, that was the end of the group at this time. And then they go into their solo endeavors. So let's talk about it. So starting with Beja, or known as Beauty, out of all of the girls, she probably had my favorite voice. I think she had the best vocal tone and control. And you can hear her vocal potential in covers she used to upload to YouTube.
And I know that I should throw the towel in.
So she got to work and released a debut EP called It Gets Better in November 2015. And the EP actually peaked at number 10 on Billboard's Heat Seekers albums and number 22 on Billboard's top R&B albums. And one of her very first singles released as a soloist, called Jealous Type, was initially uploaded to SoundCloud in May 2015. And from about 2015 to 2018, she released music consistently, rounding out to multiple projects. And her new project, her most recent one, 802, released in 2023 with a deluxe in 2024, her new project has a Summer Walker type of vibe. Very harmony inclined, good ear for melodies.
When there's some other girls feeling just like me, oh God.
And side note, when we have to talk about Beja, we gotta talk about it. Flo Milli actually included a bar that shouted Beja out.
Like a OMG girl, I'm a beauty. That's Zonique, but she's Star. Beauty is like the brown skin one. That was my favorite. Like I was a big OMG girl fan, so I had to put that in there.
On the B Flo mix. And that 2018 freestyle is actually what propelled Flo Milli into the hip hop scene. Star, also known as Zonique, pursued her solo career not long after their disbandment. And in June 2015, she released her debut single, None for Free. That hosted a Young Thug feature. And the great things that happen when you have family connections, if we're just being quite honest. First single out the gate features Young Thug. Her solo career at a surface and optics level probably looked the most promising. Big budget music videos, you're getting hot rappers on your songs. But she did get a lot of negative criticism on this single. In the comments of the YouTube video, many of her fans noted the disproportionate amount of negative comments. Someone said, "The entire song sounds like an intro before the actual song begins, or an outro. She's gorgeous, but she needs some better songwriters. And it's sad that even auto-tune couldn't fix her vocals." So nevertheless, she kept her foot on the gas, kind of, and she released 4 additional singles. She released her debut EP called Love Jones, March 24th, 2017, and her single Patience from this EP was an upgrade from her debut single for sure. And later that year, in April 2017, she announced that she was going to join the cast of Growing Up Hip Hop Atlanta. Her plotline was often centered around her solo music and vocal lessons.
Zonique has a great voice, range needs work.
And a lot of the viewers of the show roasting her vocal abilities. I also believe T.I. and Tiny's Family Hustles was still airing as well, so of course she made an appearance here and there. And also she joined her mom as an opening act on the Great Escape Tour alongside Tamar Braxton, Monica, and the group June's Diary. And as for solo music, Zonique released another EP in 2023 called The Breakup. as well as a music video for her song called All Grown Up. Now, Baby Doll, also known as Brianna or Brie, featured on a song called Don't Believe in Love Remix, which was uploaded via SoundCloud by Princeton from Mindless Behavior. And she was credited as just Brie on this track. She released the least amount of music in comparison to her former bandmates. She only released 3 singles from 2016 to now. It's about to get juicy. It's about to get very juicy in here. I need you guys to kick your feet up. If you need to take a bathroom break, take a bathroom break. Come back. Grab a snack. Grab you a glass of wine if you are of age. We are getting into the scandal section, and there's a very big scandal. Let's talk about the lawsuit. Get a pen, paper, notepad. I want your opinions. You guys know those LOL dolls, okay? Behold, because how does this connect to the OMG Girlz story? Well, Tiny raised a question and eyebrows to the popular doll company owned by MGA Entertainment, who is the manufacturer responsible for Bratz dolls. Their 2019 LOL Surprise OMG doll line were accused of stealing the group's likeness and intellectual property. The dolls sport colorful hair with colorfully expressive outfits, some that were even said to resemble outfits that the girls have worn on red carpets, the poses, the style of the outfits.
How did you guys find out about the LOL Surprise dolls?
Okay, so someone texted Neek's mom, Auntie Tamika, and they sent her a picture of the dolls and were like, you know, they thought the dolls were us. So immediately when she saw it, she started sending it to the moms, to us, and so that was kind of like how we found out. Once she was sending us the pictures that she was sent, we were like, oh no, this is for sure us. And so, you know, we just felt that we needed to stand up for ourselves.
And after the OMG Girlz, as well as T.I. and Tiny's team, sent a cease and desist to the doll manufacturers, in 2020, MGA filed a lawsuit to them, seeking a declaratory judgment, saying that its products, doll line, did not violate IP, intellectual property rights, belonging to the OMG Girlz. And the company maintained that the dolls would not be mistaken for the group and that the group did not suffer any actual harm or lost business opportunities. Now, Tiny would maintain that she actually had dolls in the making. Back when they were a group, she was looking at prototypes for dolls. They just didn't come out how she wanted them. And she shelved the idea. And there's actually a clip of the girls in November 2012 in an interview where Beja said that they want to have their hand in producing dolls.
We're just working in every which way we can go. Dolls, perfume, hair, clothes.
Now, is that fully relevant to that argument? Not necessarily, but it does show that they had their mind in that direction. Now, this trial went on for several years where a jury was evaluating the case. There were several derailments, however, because the very first trial began January 2023. But a mistrial was called due to a witness testimony that accused the company of cultural appropriation, specifically stealing ideas from the Black community. MGA claimed that this witness testimony may have irreparably biased the jury. The judge, James Selna, agreed, and a mistrial was called and they excluded that testimony. So a second trial ensued in May 2023 that would side with MGA Entertainment in this case. However, the judge granted the OMG Girlz request to have a retrial, a story that even AP News would follow closely.
And so it took to the end for us to feel like, you know, damn, like defeated and like, you know, all the hard work that we put in, our team put in, everyone, that's when it just was like, damn.
We weren't really dealt a fair shake in my eyes. I felt y'all really could have sat in there and seen how these people were attacking our characters, how they were attacking our families, our accomplishments, what we have done, haven't done. It was sick.
What do you feel about them constantly saying the OMG Girlz are nowhere, they're nothing, and all the hard work you put in?
I think it's crazy, you know what I'm saying? Because we've showed numerous of times where the girls were in Apollo with fans wrapped around the building. We've showed, you know, just the love and support from, you know, concerts where they had people dressed like them.
And there's just a certain level of decorum that they held, while his defense side was just very aggressive, very rude, very nasty dispositions, and I think the jury will see that.
After all of this social media buzz, okay, people were up in arms about this case. People were like, they're reaching X, Y, and Z, and we'll talk more about this. But they successfully won their third trial in September 2024 and were awarded $71.5 million in damages for infringing on the name and likeness of the OMG Girlz. They were awarded $17.9 million in real damages and $53.6 million in punitive damages. Unanimously, the jury agreed that several dolls infringed on the OMG Girlz trade dress or misappropriated their name, likeness in lieu of the doll. The story didn't end there. However, in January 2025, the case faced another potential roadblock and setback. The judge considered a motion to reduce the payment to only $17.8 million in actual damages, questioning whether the $53.6 million awarded in punitive damages were correct, saying that there was still not enough evidence to prove that the brand acted in bad faith. In a Daily Journal article, they say, quote, James Selna is the judge in this case, disagreed with the pop group's argument that bad faith infringement was proved because MGA's target audience overlapped with Black and Hispanic mothers, who bought the flashy dolls and said they were misled. And Selna, who disagreed with the group's argument that MGA's failure to investigate the alleged consumer confusion was enough to show deceitful intent. Okay, so that's what the judge was saying. He was like, you know what? I think they deserve money.
But I don't think they deserve all of that money.
Now, what I will say, just to play devil's advocate a tiny bit, for the argument listed above about Black and Hispanic mothers being misled or confusing the group with the dolls, vice versa. The dolls came out in 2019, but to be fair, they were probably manufacturing the dolls a couple years prior. Now, the OMG Girlz were on a bit of a hiatus. Remember, they technically split up in 2015 for a good while. And the target consumer for these dolls is about 4 to 7 years old. Now, I'm not saying that children couldn't have discovered the OMG Girlz around 2019 and been like, ooh, I want the OMG doll. Is this associated with the OMG Girlz? But they had fizzled out. Some of these moms of these young children, did they know who the OMG Girlz were? Now, if you are a millennial, yes, as a zillennial or a millennial, if I'm scrolling down Instagram and I saw these dolls, right, I'd be like, oh, like that kind of reminds me of the OMG Girlz, especially because they were called the OMG dolls, right?
Some people might have thought y'all had something to do with it.
Yeah,
you know?
that was
a
lot of people did. Yeah.
When I saw it, that's what I thought. I thought it was y'all dolls.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
they so clever for that. They did this.
It was in different ways how they put it together, how they like packaged it together, how they even had them like go on tours and do music videos and all those type of things on YouTube too. So they were like artists and everything. Yeah. So it was the pink, purple, and blue, the colored hair, even how they positioned the dolls, like how we would stand in our pink, purple, and blue, like for posing for pictures on red carpet. You know, that was the thing, right? It's the confusion, right?
Yeah,
and that was the part. Yeah,
they didn't know.
But that was one thing that I'm like, But that does not mean that they don't deserve to be compensated for their intellectual property being infringed in the first place. And in February 2025, reporter Megan Cuniff took to Twitter and reported, finally, that the OMG Girlz are receiving punitive damages from MGA over the doll. So they are going to receive that full settlement amount. And it does take a lot of guts to speak out. Artists get stolen from too much, guys. I mean, we always think about how other musicians bite off of one another, but we don't often think about how corporations can directly steal from small artists, and in this case, their group. And after their win back in September 2024, Beja took to Instagram and said, quote, "This is for creatives everywhere. No longer will we be bullied into silence when it comes to others profiting off of our ideas and creativity." And a part of the internet buzz and controversy, there were people commenting on this matter who had never even heard of the OMG Girlz. This was the first time. So they were put off. They didn't understand like their impact, their style. Many spectators using the excuse, well, I've never heard of them, so why are they acting like they... Okay. So you deserve, by that logic, you're basically saying, so you deserve to get stolen from because the majority of the world doesn't know you. The way that you guys will cape for corporations, they'll be fine.
This corporation has a history of doing this to young Black creatives. It's not just, I'm sorry, it was just racist to me. Like, I just feel like it's like y'all gonna rip us off because we the little small Black artists that y'all don't know, but then y'all will go do all these doll deals with all of these other white creators who are millionaires and billionaires and all of this stuff. You know what I mean? And then look at us crazy when we like, you know, like it's not, they did not expect us to really be able to get in the courtroom with them. And I feel like for real, that's the biggest victory is the fact that we was even able to do it, because it's other creators who that happened to who they couldn't.
And clearly the jury unanimously agreed on this. And as a spectator, you can't even fully use "I haven't even heard of them" as an argument in good faith. You can't use that as a valid argument because the way pop culture and influence moves so quickly in the age of the internet, there are things that you are seeing that someone else copied that you don't even know it's being copied from. And half the time it's being copied from small creators, small creatives. And it was also confirmed as well that there was at least one designer and several employees working on that project who knew who the OMG Girlz were, and it was proven, and there was evidence actually shown in court from an email exchange and testimony. Now, this fact alone cannot fully prove that there was a deliberate intent to copy maliciously. So what they may have thought was an easy way to get one over, or maybe less maliciously, used it as inspo. Regardless, the company made millions off of those dolls. I will say this, regardless of whether you guys agree with the ruling or not, corporations make enough money every day. I am not dying on a hill where I'm like, they didn't deserve it. This sets a precedent. So overall, it's a major victory for the OMG Girlz and team. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say about this lawsuit. And then lastly, for scandal, let's talk about mindless behavior. Their adjacency to mindless behavior helped their growth, but also hindered it. It hindered their fan base growth. It was a double whammy of sorts, a double-edged sword. They built adjacency to the successful boy group. However, they were a villain in a lot of fan stories, figuratively and literally. They were actually literally villains in the MB Wattpad stories, and a fan was here to prove it. Some girls, I do genuinely think, tried to intersect and be fans of both. I feel like most OMG fans were probably mindless behavior fans as well, right? But it wasn't true for the opposite. Fans have admitted years later that they didn't like the OMG Girlz for the longest time because they thought the girls went with MB.
Like, as in go out with them, like, we met them in LA. They're cool people. You guys are their fans, so we won't even try to step into that territory of liking them. They're like our little brothers, our friends.
Especially when many fans correctly speculated that Zonique and Ray Ray were dating, which she later officially confirmed in 2023.
I was dating Ray Ray. So good though. Ray Ray, yeah.
While fans also speculated for years that Beauty and Princeton dated, but they did shut those rumors down multiple times. Fans even recalled the OMG Girlz having hate pages dedicated to them on Tumblr and Twitter, mainly beefing with Beauty and Star over mindless behavior members.
Because we knew that a lot of the people who were saying stuff about us were only saying that because they might have liked mom's behavior, felt like we was trying to be with, whoever was on the tour with us at that point. I think a lot of that came from that. So I don't think we ever took any of that like personally.
Mind you, they were all signed to the same A&R, Vince at Interscope Records. The groups had a lot of intersection, not just from the fanship, right? But also from the label, the decisions being made, etc. So I think it helped them as much as it hurt them. And because they always kind of felt like a supporting group act versus having or being given headliner energy. So when you think about the fact that a lot of little girls just didn't want to like them off of the strength that they were hanging around their man or they were possibly dating their man, which is not fair. I mean, the girls kind of maintained that the only one that they really talk to from the group today is Princeton.
Are y'all still in contact with any of the boys from Mom's Behavior?
Yes.
Princeton, right? Princeton is like the. I mean, it's not like it's beef.
Yeah.
But we talked to Princeton the most when we were on tour anyway.
So let's get into the last part of the video. So after some time apart and pursuing solo careers as we discussed, Zonique probably had the most major life update as she became a mom in December 2020. And there was also a period of time where she gained some blog attention negatively for her questionable relationship to her baby father, Izzy.
What made you know that I was the one? Like, I want to marry her.
I never thought I wanted to marry her.
You never thought that in your whole entire fucking life? You gonna really sit here and cap like that and you say that you don't have?
So it's something that I don't want to take from her as well, but I would admit, like, kick you to the goddamn curb.
Well, why?
Bro, there's some other shit, bro, that I just don't tolerate from bitches, bro.
As well as her views on marriage.
Obviously, people say you have a baby, are you going to get married? What is your take on that?
At my age, I don't really want to get married right now. Like, I feel like that's an even bigger commitment. I don't know. I hate to say like it's an even bigger commitment than a baby to me, but getting married just seems like so much.
So unfortunately, she was going viral for the wrong reasons, people psychoanalyzing her situation and relationship. And there were some clips that were a bit like, ooh, this don't look good.
You're not no disrespectful ass. That's the thing, but I feel like, trying to say is, y'all, I feel like people from Baltimore just have a way of like talking and like they just, they aren't really trying to be disrespectful, but they grew up a certain way.
It's probably the most shocking update, I guess, that you guys would need from an individual in the group. Oh, and Zonique did a few acting jobs as well on Tubi. And just to give you a brief update on the two OG members who left, Lolo and Reginae. Lolo is now 26 and she actually graduated from college in 2020. She's a degree girly. Love that for her. And she actually had a baby girl in 2024. She still vlogs frequently, giving viewers an insight into her life as a mom, her day-to-day and lifestyle. And while Reginae, as you know, ramped up her YouTube in the past few years, which can be attributed to her public relationship with YouTuber Armand Wiggins. This happened around 2022. They had a messy online split, but she has currently shifted her focus more into acting, trying to land some acting roles, and also back in reality TV, as her and her mom currently have a show that's airing. Reginae and Lolo are still very close, while all of the OG OMG girls are still great friends, and recently went out the country to celebrate Zanique's birthday together. So there's no beef, no drama there. Now, back to the OMG girls, because this is the most relevant to all of this and where they are today. The group has officially reunited. Now, they first had and teased a reuniting in 2017, where the OMG girls briefly reunited to perform as special guests during Zanique's opening set on the Great Escape tour. And this had fans excited and felt somewhat fulfilling to the abrupt end that they had, but that was about it for some time. And in July 2023, they announced that they were coming out of their 8-year hiatus and were officially reuniting as a group. Now, while many fans were excited for this, with a lot of folks saying my childhood is back, some spectators and fans wondered how they would factor in their name and imagery to a much more mature time and setting. I mean, now they're like 28, 29, 30. However, they did ditch the nickname. So no more Star, Beauty, and Baby Doll. It's giving very much first name.
Yep. All right, so we ditched those names from years ago.
You know what? It's like, it's just younger us.
Okay.
You know, like we were like little girls when we came up with that. So now we like grown women. It's like Beauty, Star, Baby Doll. I mean,
They reframed their visibility and began working in the studio again, posting content to YouTube with each other and teasing their official comeback. However, some people online suggested that their OG branding was aged out, no longer in trend.
It was some tweets that was made where people saying, oh, they should give it up, they look like children. All of the evil shit that's in the world that children, people in general, consume. But 3 black women wearing colored hair is who got to stop. We were on a news station, it was early in the morning, and we were under the impression that we were going to perform. So that's why we had the outfits on that we had, because they told us we were going to perform until we got there. As soon as we got there, they're like, oh, y'all don't have to perform. And I'm like, oh, we could have wore what we wore. You know, we could have wore something, you know, like for an interview, like how we did when I had on the dress and the girls had on like, you know, the white tops with the jeans. So it just kind of was like one of those things. I guess for people to feel like OMG is grown, we gonna have to twerk, bust it open, turn around to the back, be super revealing.
I also know some people suggested that they drop the girls part of their name. Like, why are you keeping the girls on it, right?
Are you guys gonna drop the girls or are you gonna hang on to it?
You
know what? The girls are kind of our brand.
But people seemed quite split on the branding. Others lived on the reunion, focused on if they would really just release Loverboy or not. And speaking of the Loverboy lore, like we said we would. You remember that song that they previewed all the way back in 2012 that fans begged for? Well, they finally released Loverboy on July 14th, 2023. Many were excited, again, split, while others felt let down because they tweaked their voices a bit. The vocals were more high-pitched and overly auto-tuned, and they also tweaked the second verse. And you could hear this in a vlog that they released, that the auto-tune is up, child. Like, it's on.
I'm trying to make it so official.
Now, this would mark their first single in over 10 years, and I do think it was smart to release an anticipated track, right? That's an easy way to reel in all of your OG fans. Now, they would get another look and platform by joining Escape and SWV for their Queens of R&B tour beginning in June 2024. And this was a great opportunity for them to get their feet wet despite the target audience of this tour being much older. They also did some side mission performances to reach some fans, and they did a set at a lounge called Pianos in NYC. And they also released a new single called Motion on August 2nd, 2024. This was fresh material finally. And could they gain or keep attention with a new sound? Well, they had some nice harmonies on the track, guys. Their voices blended well.
Thought I told him that I moved on. You know I do what I please, like, ooh, let me breathe.
But it does have this hip hop and R&B fusion that I think fits within the landscape of R&B right now. So whether you like it or not, I think it still sounds very current. And they did address that this was their first song that they did where they had complete creative control.
Well, Motion was actually the first song that we wrote together, like since we had been back together. You know, we were younger. We kind of would go to the studio and the song would already be written and ready to go. So this was one that we actually got to put our hands on and started from scratch.
And now keep in mind, we still have not received an OMG album, but they've been frequently asked about it and have maintained that it's coming. But I personally think that they should absolutely do it this year or early 2026 to capitalize on that gaining momentum. Well, while we wait, they most recently released their single Make a Scene on March 28th, 2025. My timing is impeccable because I had no clue about this and I was like, I'm doing this video and I was like, oh, they got a new single. Yeah, I love that they attacked a slower R&B track, finally. Donnie's vocals were very beautifully floating on that beat, and I really like the pre-chorus melody.
Be too long. Now you messing up your happy home.
They actually wrote the record, and Beja said she engineered the track as well. The video is also very well shot, great budget. That lawsuit money is going into great use. Appreciated the grown and sexy concept. It wasn't overdoing it. I will say that I can absolutely hear that Summer Walker influence though. Like Summer Walker, upon the way that they ad-lib, structure their runs, and just melodically. Brie also slid on the beat though. I thought that they glided on the beat very nicely. But they've done a great job maturing their sound, and overall I like the single. Are they reinventing the wheel? No. But there could absolutely, I think, be a space for them in the R&B landscape. The music video also features quite a few familiar faces, and they even released a director's cut of the music video. So it's a mini movie, really great quality. Go and check that out. But they also did have a release party for their single, and all of the original OMG Girls were there as well to support. This past year or so, Beja has really been vlogging their life on the road, on tour, performing, and really giving fans a BTS look. So I think that's a great place to start if you want to keep up with them. I also absolutely love their camaraderie and the fact that they've remained friends. Like, there's no beef here. I love the effort that they're putting into coming back. The budget is budgeting, and I have to say I'll be seated for what they do next. So guys, that is what happened to the OMG Girls. Their story is still being written. I think that's so fascinating because you don't see a lot of groups get back together. Let me know what you guys think of the OMG Girls, especially about the lawsuit, just because I think that's such an interesting conversation. Hit that subscribe button down below. We're gonna keep going up and up and up and up. We're keeping our foot on that gas. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.